Dead by Daylight is a rewarding game, dear viewer. Every time we outplay a killer by predicting their actions or calling their bluff, we feel rewarded. Indeed, these moments of tension and mind games always keep us coming back for more. However, I'd argue that the game itself sometimes does a poor job of rewarding its survivors in a number of ways. Some design choices can range anywhere from slightly odd to completely baffling, and everything in between. Today I want to present a rework concept that seeks to make changes to Bloodpoint scoring, Emblems, and the Endcard screens, in hopes of creating a healthier and more satisfying system that does more to reward survivors for their actions in-game. But first, you guessed it dear viewer, a quick preface before we start. This rework is focused solely on the feedback a player receives about their performance in a trial. It doesn't cover anything such as matchmaking or the MMR system. These topics are important discussions, but are separate from what we're talking about here today. The focus of this rework is on the things a player sees, rather than anything that goes on behind the scenes. Also, this video is one half of an overall concept. When writing the script, I had the discussion bounce between killers and survivors for each segment. However, it felt messy, and so I've decided to create two separate videos for each half. This video is for the survivors. If you want to see the killers video, click the link in the description. Now, enough talk, on with the video. First, we'll look at Bloodpoints. The main problem here is that survivors don't receive nearly as many as killers. I'm sure you've noticed that in the majority of lobbies, the killer earns the most Bloodpoints. With the recent release of the 8.6 patch, behaviour have increased the amount of Bloodpoints that survivors earn for certain actions. However, I think that more could be done in this regard. The system doesn't reward healthy or interesting plays, instead encouraging survivors to be selfish. Let's start with the boldness category. There are a number of additions and changes in this concept. First, this concept includes a new scoring event for dodging attacks. Currently, some powers grant survival points if a survivor dodges a special attack. Under this concept, survivors would instead receive boldness points for avoiding any nearby basic or special attack. Next, players would once again earn boldness blood points for dropping a pallet while in chase. Now, however, the points gained would increase with proximity to the killer, ranging from a standard 750 blood points up to 1500. This would encourage survivors to make more risky plays, as opposed to pre-dropping all of their pallets safely. This in turn would give killers the opportunity to make use of their chase tools to try and catch their opponents. Finally is a Bloodpoint sharing system. While in chase, a player would earn a 50% share of any objective or altruism points that their teammates earn during that time. In this example, the killer is chasing Meg. During this chase, Dwight earns 1000 objective points and Claudette earns 1000 altruism points. As such, at the end of Meg's chase, Meg would earn 500 objective points and 500 altruism points, since her distraction allowed these actions to take place. This system would encourage all players to get involved in chases, rather than hiding and letting their teammates take the heat. Chases would be a great way to earn a variety of blood points and would encourage survivors to draw the killer's attention from their allies. Next is the survival category. The thing is, dear viewer, the scoring system for survival points is far too binary. If you escape, you gain all the blood points. If you don't, you barely get any. So, if you survive until all the generators are done and then die taking a protection hit for your teammate, the game might as well call you a failure. No blood points for you, survivor, it says. You suck. Maybe next time you'll be a bit more selfish. So, to remedy this, this concept changes the system for scoring survival points. Anytime a generator is completed, all alive players would receive 1000 survival points for the still breathing event. Then, upon escaping, a player would only receive 2000 survival points, rather than the current 7000. This would mean that the duration of your survival is tracked far more accurately. Surviving for the majority of the match would now grant you the majority of survival points. Further, a survivor could earn survival points for making use of their perks. For example, activating an exhaustion perk during a chase would grant survival points. healing a survivor whilst using botany knowledge would grant survival points, and revealing the killer's aura with dark sense would grant survival points. Overall, these changes to a survivor's scoring events seek to improve the amount of blood points that survivors can earn in matches, whilst encouraging players to play in healthy and interesting ways, rather than being selfish. Now we'll look at the survivors' emblems. Their design can sometimes encourage unhealthy gameplay and put a focus on selfish behaviour. First is the Evader emblem. At the moment, it rewards players who make use of stealth near the killer, or who manage to escape from their chases unharmed. Again, this system encourages players to behave selfishly by avoiding chases and having their teammates take the heat. Further, it also punishes players who go down during a chase, something that is typical of the majority of chases and shouldn't be punished. Going down in a chase means that you're drawing the killer's attention, something that all survivors should do at some point during the match. So, under this concept, a survivor would earn points for each second they spend in chase, as well as earning points for use of obstacles, which are not lost for being hit or downed by the killer. Finally, a survivor would only earn stealth points towards this emblem if they're on death hook. This is because that would be the only time that avoiding the killer is a smart idea, and a good contribution to the team's longevity. Next is the Lightbringer emblem. This emblem is focused on generator repair. The thing is, it rates you based on your percentage contribution, rather than an amount of progress achieved. This means that you're actively in competition with your teammates in order to try and earn a good emblem. Further, it awards points for cleansing totems, which most of the time isn't contributing to your objective at all. Overall, this encourages players to bring powerful toolboxes and gen speed perks in order to outperform their teammates, which can shorten the length of matches considerably. So, under this concept, the goal would be for players to complete a fixed amount of progress according to this table. 0.75 generators worth of progress would earn a bronze emblem, 1 generator for a silver, 1.25 for a gold, and 1.5 for iridescent. Further, players would still earn points during chases, and would also earn points anytime they interrupt regression. Overall, this system would make earning this emblem less competitive, and wouldn't incentivize survivors to rush their objective as quickly as possible. Last is the Unbroken emblem. This one is perhaps the strangest and unhealthiest of the survivors' emblems, dear viewer. In order to achieve an iridescent quality emblem, a player must escape while not going down for the entire trial. Again, and I feel like a broken record at this point, it encourages players to avoid drawing the killer's attention and instead play selfishly. A running theme throughout this video. If you escape a trial without going down once, it's either because the killer is having a really rough match, or you're being incredibly selfish, and quite probably leading to one or more of your teammates being sacrificed. Rewarding this sort of behaviour isn't very sensible, and in my opinion, it should be instead punished. Drawing the killer's attention is a core part of the survivor playbook. If you all want to make it out, you need to work as a team, and that means everyone needs to put themselves at risk at some point during the match. So, under this concept, the Unbroken emblem is now called the Resilient emblem. Points towards this emblem are earned by making use of perks and items during a trial. For example, revealing auras, healing yourself, or blessing totems with your perks would all grant points towards this emblem. The focus here is on players making smart use of their perks and rewarding them for engaging with regular gameplay, rather than hiding and treating the game as every man for themselves. Overall, the focus of these reworked emblems is for players to work more cooperatively and focus on the team goals, rather than only considering themselves. The goal is to encourage healthy behaviour, with all players getting involved with all aspects of a match and supporting their teammates in all avenues. Now it's time to talk about Endcards, dear viewer. The phrase is shown to a player immediately after they finish a match. For survivors, I honestly think that the current system is, frankly, dreadful. It will simply tell a survivor that they escaped, were sacrificed, or that they're just dead. The simplicity of the current system completely disregards a player's contributions to the match, and I think that's incredibly discouraging. If I were to draw upon my previous example again, where you survive until all the generators are done, and then die taking a protection hit for your teammate, the game might as well call you a failure. Only this time, it says sacrificed. That's it. No acknowledgement of what you contributed to that trial, dear viewer, just you died. Next time, be more selfish. So, this concept includes a set of new phrases that preface the simple sacrificed or escaped, in order to convey what a player contributed to their match. If a player earns more than 5,000 blood points in a category, they'll earn a particular word before their result, according to this table. Enough blood points in the boldness category will earn you the daring sacrifice or daring escape title. Enough blood points in the altruism category will earn you the benevolent sacrifice or benevolent escape title. Enough blood points in the objective category will earn you the committed sacrifice or committed escape title. And finally, 5,000 points in the survival category will earn you the tenacious sacrifice or tenacious escape title. If a player earns more than 5,000 points in several categories, they'd receive the title associated with the category they've earned the most points in. Overall, this rework seeks to provide more rewarding endcard screens that do more to provide players with gratifying feedback immediately after a match. Even if you're sacrificed, your contributions in chases, altruism, or the objective will be acknowledged by the game. So, when you give your life to save your teammates, you'll be congratulated on your benevolent sacrifice, not just scorned for having been sacrificed. Finally is an extra segment regarding the Adepts. For survivors, earning Adepts isn't too punishing. However, the 3 perk limit can sometimes lead to some frustrating experiences as a survivor. Behaviour, for better or worse, use perks as a counter to certain unsavoury killer tactics. Anytime you're attempting to gain your Adept, your loadout is limited, and, as such, you'll most likely be left unable to deal with these strategies effectively. With that in mind, this concept includes a slight adjustment to these achievements. Now they only require the use of a Survivor's 3 teachable perks, but not only those 3 perks. This would allow players to make use of a 4th perk slot that could help them to deal with certain tactics more effectively. That's it for this one. These are all the suggestions I have for improving the reward system's current weaknesses as I see them. Let me know what you think, leave a comment or make a forum post and send a link. Whatever your ideas are, I want to hear them. I don't make this video to declare my ideas as gospel or something, I just hope to maybe inspire some conversations. By discussing our ideas and putting them together, we can get that bit closer to making DBD the best version of itself. Thank you very much for watching, dear viewer, and I hope to see you in the next one.